everyone, welcome back to another video. I'm going to be filming in the front of my van today. I did want to film somewhere a bit more scenic, I don't know, but actually there is quite a nice view out this window. It's really cold where we are at the moment, or maybe we're just not acclimatized to cold weather anymore. Spent the winter in southern Spain and now we are in France, in the Alps. We're making our way back to the UK. It's about 11 degrees, so it's too cold to film outside without me getting a red nose. But I wanted to make hopefully kind of an interesting video. All of the art that I've made in this van since we moved in. August of this year it will be 2 years full time. We're over a year and a half now. So I have done a lot of art. I've had publishing projects, editorial projects, my own work and making videos and all that kind of stuff. It's all been happening from our little tin can. I am really bad at sharing all of the new work that I make. I don't post it on Instagram. I don't really share it in videos because for a while it is private because it's client work, so I can't share it until it's published, and by the time it's published I've moved on quite a lot and I just don't get around to sharing. Basically I've got a list in order month by month, the paintings that I produced, and I'm going to share them and I'm going to share behind the scenes and that kind of stuff. So the first month I started with was September 2022, and that's because the previous month we were just like settling into life in a van and there wasn't much work going on. By September I was back to working. I was actually working quite a lot for You magazine. I was doing weekly illustrations for them, actually, a lot of food illustrations. So I will show a lot of those for you now because there's so many of them. I've got a huge stash of food illustrations. They were mostly the raw ingredients to accompany recipes. I think it was about like low-cost recipes or something, because the cost of living crisis had really hit by that point. I also did a couple of illustrations for BBC Wildlife magazine, which is still a commission I have on a monthly basis. For September 2022 I worked on a Dunnock illustration, a bird in bramble, and also a chimpanzee. And then moving on into October 2022, our van failed its MOT. We kind of didn't get off to a good start with van life. So the van went into the garage. I think it was quite stressful what we were going through at that point, so I only have one illustration down for that month. It was a Darwin bark spider for BBC Wildlife magazine, and I actually remember that we painted this in the New Forest, so that must have been when we got back on the road. And then moving on into November of 2022, I was cat sitting for my sister for a lot of the time. That was also the month when I planned, wrote, illustrated and designed my first zine. So that zine video that I made, that is still really popular on my channel, it was quite a busy personal project month for me. And then in December I was shipping out all of the zine orders that I had, so thank you if you were someone who ordered the zine. I'm thinking about maybe producing a second run of that zine if you'd be interested. Let me know in the comments if you would like me to. And December was an exciting month because it's the first time we took the van internationally. We drove to Spain for the winter. It felt like proper van life began at that point. I did a few illustrations, painted a ruffed lemur for BBC Wildlife magazine, and I also painted a chicken and avocado wrap for WB Sampson, which is a Norwegian bakery chain based out of Oslo. They're also a client that I still work with and who I've worked with for many years, and I love working with them. I paint really delicious food for them. And then into January I had a similar setup to December. 2 illustrations, one for BBC Wildlife magazine. It was a bonnet head shark. And then for WB Sampson, the Norwegian bakery, I painted a birthday No, not a birthday cake. I painted a Mother's Day cake. The bakery, they use my illustrations online, on their menus, in-store kind of advertising, like posters and leaflets around Oslo as well. Oh, okay, yeah, we've gone into 2023 now. And then February of last year, I painted a chocolate bun for WB Sampson. And at this point we were still in Spain, and I think we were still in northern Spain, in the Basque country. And then I also painted a deep sea octopus for WB Sampson. And then in March of last year, we had to travel back to the UK, which we were very sad about. I had to go to court. I definitely feel like we came back to the UK too early. Like I've said many times before, we don't like living in a van in England. But at that point we were preparing for what we were going to do over the spring and summer, so it was actually quite exciting. We got through it. We were preparing to move to the island of Islay in the Scottish Inner Hebrides. Craig was starting a new job there, working in a whisky distillery. I painted a sage grouse for BBC Wildlife magazine. In April we moved to Islay and I started the Islay Diaries, which was a weekly series that I put on Patreon. I'm really glad I did document the ups and downs of living on an island for the first time in a van, because there were definitely a lot of ups and downs. I have one illustration I did in April, and it was a yellow baboon for BBC Wildlife magazine. And then in May, that was a really busy work month. Worked with BBC Wildlife magazine, I painted a parrot, and then I also painted some ice creams for WB Sampson. I think they used that as a poster design which they shared with me, which was really gorgeous. And then I also started a publishing project with Laurence King Publishing, who I've worked with many times before. I have quite a few products out with them. This newest project that I worked on was completely done from the van. It's the first time I've done a big publishing project from the van, so I didn't really know how it was going to go. Craig was working full-time in the distillery, so that meant that during the day I had quite a bit of time, also some space to set up my desk area and just get cracking with loads of work. I had 50 illustrations to paint for them. It's called Gardener's Match. It's an illustrated memory game. Basically you match the fruit or the vegetable to the plant that it's grown from. That was really fun to do. I painted pea shoots and tomatoes and strawberries and figs, radishes and potatoes. If you ever see it out and about, take a picture of it, share it with me, and also buy it for yourself or friends or family. So in May, that meant a lot of sitting in the van at my desk and a lot of painting. I listened to a lot of audiobooks. At times I think it was a bit intense to have to work so much in such a small space. We were quite lucky because we were situated on a campsite at that point, so at least we didn't have to move around every day and pack things away. So if you buy that game, all of the illustrations were produced whilst I was sat on the edge of a campsite looking out at the sea and the mountains. I'm going to move a bit faster through these now. So June of 2023, there was a heat wave. We went to Jura, which is an island right next to Islay, and it was bloody gorgeous. We saw loads of amazing wildlife. And I got to work in my sketchbook, which I started when we moved to Islay, just to document all of the wildlife sightings that either me or Craig had seen during our time. And then I painted a quiche for WB Sampson, the Norwegian bakery. I painted another lemur, did I? A ring-tailed lemur for BBC Wildlife magazine. And then July came around, I started painting the rewards that go with the Kickstarter project that was launched by Birdwood Games to do with the Dog Park board game, which I illustrated for them. All of these things that I talk about in this video, I'll leave links to in the description of this video so you can go see. I also painted an illustration of a bonobo for BBC Wildlife magazine. I did another illustration for BBC Wildlife magazine that month. I think that happens sometimes when the art director goes on holiday, so they commission twice in 1 month just to make sure they've got it for the following edition. So I painted a blue jay for BBC Wildlife magazine, and actually I think it was a pair of blue jays. And then in August of last year we left Islay, and we left Islay for the mainland. I painted a monkey for BBC Wildlife magazine, and I also worked a lot in my sketchbook that month. So I was painting a lot of bugs. I wasn't painting, I was drawing a lot of bugs. A lot of the illustrations in my sketchbook, which I'm going to show when the sketchbook's finished, it's nearly finished. I just had a real obsession with bugs last year, and also into this year as well. I really enjoy drawing them and learning about them. And then September of last year, sorry if you can hear Quentin barking a lot. Actually, you can see Midge in the corner there, can't you? I just need to finish this video. Go on your bed. So yeah, September of last year, there was a heat wave. We were in Wales, so we spent a lot of time trying to keep the van cool and keep the dogs cool. It was a bit stressful actually. And then I was visiting my family for a whole fortnight, which was so lovely to be able to do. I did an illustration for BBC Wildlife magazine. Again, it was a black lark. And I was also working on some new products for my Etsy shop, which the launch of is coming in the next few weeks. And then into October, it's autumnal. We're in southern England, getting van repairs. Again, it's just classic. It has to happen a few times a year. Whilst that was happening, we were very lucky again to be able to stay with Craig's parents, working a lot in their conservatory and designing some new products for my Etsy shop. There's going to be sticker sets coming soon. And then I painted a reindeer for BBC Wildlife magazine. November, we were in Cornwall, and I painted some seeded bread for BBC Wildlife. No, I didn't. I painted some seeded bread for WB Sampson, the Norwegian bakery. I painted a grey seal, mum and baby for BBC Wildlife magazine. December, I think, was another struggle month, kind of stressing a little bit about finances, and we were split between Cornwall and Bristol. I went to my printers in Bristol to get some new products made, got some prints and postcard sets, and then I painted 2 monkeys grooming for BBC Wildlife magazine. So actually quite a lot of primates. And then we get into this year, January 2024. We started our international travels, and what a relief that always is. Off to an easier way of life. We made our way to Spain. This is a month where I also made daily videos, so you can watch the whole trip we took from the UK into northern Spain and then southern Spain. I designed a poster for the This Is Rigged campaign, which is a direct action campaign based out of Scotland. They are highlighting the cost of living crisis in Scotland. And then I also painted a firefly for BBC Wildlife magazine. And in February of this year, we were still in Spain having a wonderful time, and I painted maybe one of my favourite illustrations for BBC Wildlife magazine. It was a woodlouse, or a couple of woodlice, a pill woodlouse. Really obsessed with woodlice. I really love them as part of my bug girl era. And then I also started my second publishing project that I've done out of the van. I still need to be quite secretive about it. I'm not really sure how much I can say, but it was quite a lot of illustrations. It was about 48 spot-sized illustrations, like this kind of size, and then 5 double page, so like bigger than A4 pages. I was feeling quite stressed, as I always do when I'm in the middle of a publishing project. It always feels like too much, but I always do it. Then March of this year, we needed to leave the Schengen area, and so we went to Bosnia and Herzegovina. We travelled there. That was such an experience to travel through southern France, Italy, Slovenia, Croatia, and then Bosnia. So we hadn't been to the Balkans before, and now we're obsessed. It was quite an experience to do that big trek together. Lots of challenges, a few scary instances, a near-death experience. But yeah, around all that, I managed to paint a pizza slice for WB Sampson, and I painted some coyotes for BBC Wildlife magazine, and then I also painted some double page, really detailed, full kind of scene illustrations for this big publishing project, and that was the end of that publishing project. I worked quite intensely throughout March, and then April, so this month just gone, we left Bosnia because we only had insurance for 1 month there, so we were back into Italy. We've been in Italy for over 3 weeks now, and freaking loved it. We're out of Italy now, we're in France, but yeah, loved being our time in northern Italy. I painted some damselflies for BBC Wildlife magazine, and also a custard cake for WB Sampson. And I was also just resting quite a bit from the end of that publishing project and needing to rest because, yeah, I was working all hours of the day in March and not sleeping very well and just not resting. So April has been much more of a restorative month, which has been needed. I haven't made many YouTube videos or anything. I've only made Patreon content, really. That's it. That's all the art that I've made in the van. I hope you enjoyed seeing some more of my artwork, and now what I'm going to go do is put some of it on Instagram. So if you see it on Instagram, please like and leave me a comment, because we all know that the algorithm over there is shit. And also leave a comment here, I'd love to know. So if you have any questions about working as an artist and an illustrator out of a van, or out of a small living space / tiny home, I'd love to know, and maybe I can make that for future content. Let me know if you like this kind of video, if you want to see me talk more about client work and stuff, because if you have any questions about client work as well, let me know. Gotten really out of the loop with talking about commercial illustration. I'd like to get back into it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Bye!